Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some of which I grew up with and some of which are new to me. Today's game is one of the former, although I knew it by a different name because we had a dodgy pirate copy of it that was possibly an earlier version of it. This is Final Legacy. The version we had was called Legacy. But it was pretty much the same game that you're going to see here. And it's a really interesting game that kind of defies easy description. So let's take a look. So the concept of this is that you are in command of this amazingly powerful battleship called the Legacy. There are a bunch of bad people with missile sights trained on your cities, which are the things on the right-hand side of the screen. And it's up to you to basically stop them from pointing their nasty missiles at you. It is one of many games from the 80s that kind of manifested paranoia about the Cold War and such like. There were many games that involved the threat of nuclear war or missile strikes and such like, and this was just one of many, but it was a particularly good one. So the way this works is you move around on this navigation map. You are the black dot with the circle around it. You move within range of a missile base to... Oh, wrong button. And then you have to destroy the missile silos by locating them on this cool space age display here, using the scanner at the bottom. And then also you have to make sure you stop the missiles that they launch at your cities as soon as you start shooting at them as well. So we're playing on the easiest level here, so it's a pretty straightforward affair to do that. On the harder difficulty levels, you actually have some additional mechanics to deal with. So you have things like a fuel level to bear in mind. You have hidden bases, which you can only locate by destroying what it calls intelligent ships that are floating around near your cities. And obviously you have to sort of juggle the responsibilities of taking out the missile sites while also protecting your cities from the incoming missiles. So it's quite a tense, exciting game all round, really. That I always had a lot of fun with, primarily because just the whole aesthetic of it is really cool. I used to really like this laser sound. I used to really like the sort of view for the sea to land interface that we've got there. It was just a really satisfying game to play. And the ship-to-ship combat is reasonably fun. A little bit awkward, but, you know, you're piloting a ship, not a spaceship, so you expect a certain degree of awkwardness. And you can just ram the other ships if you want to as well, or you can shoot them at point blank like I did there, which feels a bit like cheating, but, you know. And you'll notice that you can hear things like the incoming missiles even when you're on a different screen, so everything unfolds in real time in this game. So as you're moving around, you're having to prioritise what you're going to do. So you see, the second you start attacking the missile base, that is when they launch missiles at your cities. And so you have to start thinking about whether you've got time to actually destroy all the facilities, or if you should switch out and start taking out missiles. And this only gets more and more difficult on the higher difficulty levels. Obviously, we're not having too much trouble here at the moment. But as I say, we are playing on the most easy difficulty level, because this is probably the best way to show you the basic mechanics, because, you know, I'm not great at video games. I'm probably better than I give myself credit for, but, you know, I didn't really trust myself to play on the harder difficulty levels. Primarily because, as a kid, I only ever really played on the ensign level. But I was capable of actually beating this game when I was a kid, which was a relative rarity, to be honest. There weren't many games that I was able to beat as a child, even on their most easy difficulty levels. Now, that's not as shameful an admission as you might think, because we're talking about the early to mid-80s here, when a lot of the games coming out were either ports of arcade games or heavily inspired by those arcade games, which meant that they were designed to be experiences that were brutally punishing and difficult, that were designed to be a significant challenge for you. Whereas this was a game that was designed for relatively short playthroughs, when you could start a game and you could be done within half an hour or so. Which was always nice. You could also play this game with the trackball controller as well, which was pretty cool. So that gave a real sort of nice arcadey, frantic feeling to these sequences, especially stuff like the bits where you're shooting down the missiles. Those felt really cool with the trackball. Unfortunately, I don't have one to hand, but yeah, if you do have access to one, it's definitely worth giving a go. And so you can hopefully see what I mean by now, that this game kind of defies easy description. So it's got elements of missile command, it's got elements, very light strategy game elements, it's got shoot 'em up aspects, it's got sort of defense, all sorts. It's a really cool game. It's very much a favourite from when I was a youngster, primarily for this view that you're looking at here, just because I thought this was really cool. This was sort of really space age, the kind of thing you'd see in movies, and it was just a really cool thing to be able to engage with on my computer. I know it's really looks really simple and almost laughable now, but yeah, I loved it back then. I still kind of love it now. I say offhand, I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between the version we had on our Atari 8-bits, which was just called Legacy, and this one, which is called Final Legacy. I believe there were various versions, some which had icons instead of the menu options on the screen here. But they were basically the same game. They involved those four main components: moving around, protecting yourself from enemy bases, and so on. And yes, this was from the age where a lot of game programmers and designers did not bother to write their own music. They just ripped off other stuff. So you can hear a nice bit of Star Trek there, I believe. Anyway, that wasn't Star Trek at all, was it? I don't know what it was. It was something famous anyway. It certainly wasn't written originally for this. Anyway, that is Final Legacy for the Atari 8-bit. I hope you enjoyed watching that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time.